Like nobody talks about in our job, we are just supposed to be soupy Sally Sunshine all the time, right? Right? You're just supposed to come to work because now you have a job. And sometimes, maybe you never felt this way, but sometimes I just didn't feel it. Sometimes when that alarm went off in the morning, I was going to shock some of you, ready? It's going to shock some of you, but I did not go, yes, it's another day of teaching. I am looking forward to seeing insert child's name. As a matter of fact, I will be sad if they are absent. I was hoping to myself, Lord, please let that child be there. And then I think to myself, you know what's not fair in education? I got a life too. You know, have you met my husband? Have you met my husband? Do you know my children? Do you understand what I had to do before I even got to work this morning? Do you understand that I've been up since 3:45 milking cows? Well, nobody does that anymore. I did, but do you know what I've been doing since 3:45 this morning? Well, you don't want to know. You don't understand. You don't understand my life. My life. I know some of you are smiling like, oh, this lady's following me around this morning. No, I just had one too. I can remember joking as a teacher when, oh, don't you love those young teachers that come up to you and go, I'm going to go home and take a nap. And I'm thinking, nap? What's a nap? I think I had one of those. I used to laugh when we say, nope, I'm going home to the second shift. That's called my kids and my husband. And sometimes that dog, I think, I voluntarily got you. I mean, at least God told me to have children. He didn't tell me to have you. Because sometimes you are more work than the other ones. Or we'll say to each other, this is hard. Nobody talks about how hard teaching is. Well, you know what they'll tell you? Buck up. Everybody else got a tough job. You know how hard it is to be a doctor? Yeah, let me have their salary and I'll bet I'll buck it up pretty quicker. And that was a potentially bad English. Oh, or you know how hard a lawyer's got it? They have to study case studies. Again, you want to give me their salary and I'll bet I'll study quite a bit. It's hard. This is hard. This is absolutely hard. And then it's so hard when you watch little Susie, who's like teacher of the year, and it acts like, I swear to Bessie, she came out of her mother's womb that good. She always looks good. She always acts good. She's always got the best. Some of you are frowning because you know it's you I'm talking about. But she always has the most perfect lessons. Her bulletin board looks like something right out of Pinterest. And like the Pinterest gods walked in and went, and then you think, don't come to my room. You were happy that you got a poster put up. And her bulletin boards look like gloriousness puked on it. And she's always got her paperwork, or he, on time. And she's always sitting there at the staff meetings as if she's just had the best day ever. The best day ever. And you're thinking, how'd you have the best day ever? Because you had the same kids I had. And I did not have the best day ever. We share kids. And it's been a day from you know where. And she's like, I just love, and then insert that kid that you can't stand. Because, you know, we can't talk about that as teachers, right? Because we love all our children. Yes, we do. We love them all. Or we say to ourselves, well, you know, there's those kids. You know, I used to think as a teacher that sometimes the Lord puts certain children on my path to teach me patience, to teach me love, because some are very difficult to love, to teach me that they are all God's children. I remember I used to say that to myself all the time as I looked in the eye of that one, thinking, they are all God's children. 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 Because there's just certain students that make our job a little tough. Agree? They make our job. Some of you are smiling going, certain? Shoot, I could give you an armful of them. I know, I'm just going to go with one or two. It's been a bad morning, a bad week, a bad month, a bad year. You know, sometimes we just have bad times, right? Sometimes we have a dying parent. Sometimes we're going through a rough divorce. Sometimes we've got things going on within our family, a diagnosis, a medical, physical, mental, spiritual. That what makes our presence here, we are here, but our mind is elsewhere. Right? Sometimes that could go on for a day, a week, a month, a year, multiple years. I know some of you are thinking, what is the point? I'll get to the point, I'll tell you. This one I will mention briefly because it just is one that if I mention it for a long time, it will just start this whole room in uproar. And that is sometimes the expectations from the state just feel too high. And it feels like, I don't know that I always felt that the expectations were too high. What I felt like is it was a moving target. And I just never knew what the target was. I'm like, if you just told me where the bullseye was, I'll hit it. But if I don't know where the bullseye is, I can't hit it. And I know some of you are feeling that way this year with the new state standards. All I can tell you with that is ready, zen and breathe. They really are a good thing. They really are a good thing. But it often feels like that there's someone in a legislative office who has never sat in my chair in front of these kids making rules for me to make. So it just often feels exhausting. And the last one being, I'm just to insert whatever. I used to say this to myself sometimes. I remember saying it at 25, I'm too old for this. At 25, I remember thinking, at 25, I'm too old for this. How will I feel by the time I'm 60? I'm too tired for this. I'm too stressed for this. I can remember many a time sitting in my car in the parking lot before I opened my door to go into school and had to have a pep talk. Had to have a pep talk because the person that was getting out of that car was not someone who ought to be dealing with kids. Period. Because you can have, if those of you that are really good and have had a really upsetting morning and can literally turn it off, you're better than I was. Except, sometimes we have to call in our superhero, right? We have to call in our superhero, and here's why. Our students don't get a second shot for us to get it right. Right? If you think about that, I want you to think about the most critical lesson that you introduce at any point in your year, especially those of you in the primary grades. Kids don't get a second shot to get that right because you don't feel well. You will determine, because of how you interact with that lesson and that student, the success of them forever. Forever. You, because you had a spat with your spouse, and trust me, I get it. I've had one of those for 38 years. Because you had a really nasty spat with your spouse, got out of that car with a chip on your shoulder, walked into that day and gave math lesson. Wasn't your best. You know it. I know it. We all know it. We've all had days that we've walked out and said, yeah, that wasn't a good day. It just wasn't a good day. Started out bad, ended bad. Here's the bad news to that. You will adjust your mood, right? Your husband may be a jerk today, but he's not always a jerk. He wouldn't have stayed married that long. But that kid never gets that second chance. I can remember students repeating things to me that they said I said. I don't remember saying it, but I wouldn't put it past me. And I can remember when they said I said it, and I remember what was going on in my life.